What happens when one of Hollywood's biggest action stars sits down at the table and the conversation takes a turn nobody fully expected? Make sure to subscribe to the Star Talks and like and comment for more talk show coverage. The cameras are already rolling. The audience is warm, clapping as the hosts introduce their next guest. Joy Behar leans slightly forward in her chair with that familiar half-smile, ready to jump in at any moment. The energy is upbeat, until it isn't. "Please welcome Jason Momoa," the moderator says, and the crowd erupts. Jason walks out relaxed, waving, giving a quick hug to the hosts. He sits down, adjusts the mic clip to his jacket, and laughs. "This is dangerous," he jokes, glancing across the table. "I've seen this show." Joy grins. "Oh, you've seen us? Then you know what you're in for." Audience laughs. Jason nods. "Yeah, I might need armor for this one." The mood is playful. They start with Safe Territory, his latest project, a big action film that's already drawing headlines. Joy asks about the physical training. "So how much of that is really you?" she asks. "And how much is movie magic?" Jason shrugs. "I do most of my own stuff. I mean, I don't jump off cliffs for real, but I try." "Because you look like you could," Joy shoots back. Audience laughs again. The conversation flows naturally at first, behind-the-scenes stories, his love of the ocean, environmental causes. Jason talks passionately about sustainability. He mentions how important it is to protect natural resources and calls for accountability from corporations. Joy tilts her head slightly. "Accountability from corporations," she repeats. "That's interesting." Jason nods. "Yeah, I mean, if we don't demand better, nothing changes." Joy crosses her arms lightly, still smiling but sharper now. "But you're also part of a massive industry that consumes a lot of resources. Big productions, private jets, huge sets. How do you reconcile that?" There's a small ripple in the audience. Not negative, just alert. Jason doesn't hesitate. "It's a fair question," he says calmly. "I try to offset what I can. I advocate within the industry. It's not perfect, but change doesn't happen overnight." Joy raises an eyebrow. "But is advocating enough? Or is it just good PR?" A few audible oohs from the crowd. Jason's smile tightens slightly. "I don't do it for PR." "I'm not saying you do," Joy responds quickly. "I'm asking if it's effective." One of the other hosts tries to soften it. "I think what Joy's getting at is whether Hollywood walks the walk." Jason nods slowly. "And I think that's fair. But it's easy to point fingers. We all live in this system." Joy jumps in. "Sure, but some people profit more from it than others." There's a brief silence. The moderator glances between them. Jason leans back in his chair. "Are we talking about me specifically?" Joy shrugs lightly. "You're here." The audience reacts again, half laughter, half tension. Jason exhales through a small smile. "Okay, let's talk about me. I've built my career doing what I love. I also use my platform to push for change. If that's not enough for some people, I'm open to hearing solutions." Joy nods. "Solutions start with honesty." "And you think I'm not being honest?" Jason asks, still calm but clearly more focused now. "I think celebrities sometimes underestimate how powerful their influence really is," Joy replies. "You can say do better, but you could also refuse certain contracts, certain sponsorships." Jason pauses. "You mean like endorsements?" "Yes," Joy says. "If a company has a questionable environmental record, why align with them?" The room is quieter now. Jason answers carefully. "Because sometimes working with them gives you leverage to change them." Joy smiles thinly. "That's optimistic." "It's realistic," Jason responds. "You can't fix something from the outside all the time." The moderator steps in. "I think this is an important conversation." Joy cuts in gently but firmly. "It is. Because audiences are smarter now. They want authenticity." Jason's jaw shifts slightly. Not angry, but firm. "And I am being authentic." One of the co-hosts nods. "I believe that." Joy looks toward her colleague. Belief isn't the same as accountability. There's a light murmur from the crowd. Jason leans forward now, elbows near the table. "Let me ask you something, Joy. Do you think anyone in entertainment can truly be pure by that standard?" Joy doesn't flinch. "No, but acknowledging contradictions openly is a start." "I just did," Jason replies. She shakes her head slightly. "You defended them." "I explained them." A small round of applause breaks out, not overwhelming, but noticeable. Joy laughs lightly. "See? They like you." Jason smiles. "I like them too." The moderator senses the edge and pivots slightly. Jason, you've always been outspoken about causes close to you. Has that ever cost you professionally? Jason nods. Absolutely. There are roles I probably didn't get because I'm vocal. But I'd rather sleep at night. Joy interjects. That's admirable. Truly. But there's a difference between being vocal and being impactful. The temperature rises again. Jason responds more directly now. Impact isn't always loud. Sometimes it's behind closed doors. Joy responds quickly. But we don't see behind closed doors. We see the red carpets. Audience reacts, mixed applause and murmurs. Jason holds her gaze. So what would you like to see? Joy doesn't hesitate. Sacrifice. That word hangs in the air. Jason blinks once. You think I haven't sacrificed? I think people at your level can afford to sacrifice more, she replies. The crowd shifts. Some clapping, some uncomfortable laughter. Jason's tone lowers slightly. That's an assumption. It's an observation, Joy counters. The moderator attempts again to lighten the mood. Well, this is definitely one of our more lively interviews. Nervous laughter from the audience. Jason sits upright. Look, I respect tough questions. But I also think sometimes we reduce complex issues to sound bites. It's not black and white. Joy nods slowly. Agreed. But clarity matters. And so does fairness, Jason replies. There's a pause, not hostile but charged. One of the other hosts gently places a hand on the table. Maybe the bigger point is that change requires effort from everyone, celebrities, media, corporations, consumers. Jason nods at her gratefully. Exactly. Joy gives a small smile. I can agree with that. The audience claps, relieved. But the tension hasn't fully dissolved. It's just shifted. The moderator glances at the clock. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll talk more with Jason, including a topic that's been trending online this week. The audience reacts again, curious. Jason raises an eyebrow. That sounds ominous. Joy smirks slightly. Oh, it might be. The camera pulls back slightly as the music plays them out to commercial, but the energy at the table remains unmistakably charged, polite on the surface, but clearly simmering underneath. And whatever that trending topic is, it's about to take this conversation to an entirely different level. The cameras come back on, and you can feel the shift immediately. The applause is loud, but there's an edge to it now. The audience knows that first segment wasn't just friendly promo talk. Jason is smiling again, but he's more alert. Joy has her cards in front of her, glasses slightly lower on her nose ready. The moderator jumps in smoothly. We're back with Jason Momoa. Before the break, we were having a very spirited conversation. Joy nods. That's one way to put it. Light laughter. Jason chuckles. I thought it was respectful. It was, Joy says quickly. Debate can be respectful. The moderator glances down at her notes. So, Jason, there's been something trending online this week. A clip resurfaced from a recent interview where you talked about masculinity and how it's being redefined. Some people loved what you said. Others not so much. Audience murmurs. Jason nods slowly. Yeah, I figured that might come up. Joy leans forward slightly. You said, and I'm paraphrasing, that men are being told they're toxic just for being men. That it creates confusion. Jason keeps his voice steady. I said that labeling all masculinity as toxic is harmful. There's a difference. Joy raises a finger. But no one is labeling all masculinity as toxic. The phrase is toxic masculinity, which refers to specific behaviors. Jason responds calmly. I understand that. But culturally, a lot of young boys hear men are the problem. That's what I was addressing. The audience reacts, some clapping, some silence. Joy tilts her head. Or maybe they're hearing that certain behaviors need to change. And I agree with that, Jason says quickly. Aggression, suppression of emotion, those things are unhealthy. I've spoken openly about therapy, about vulnerability. One of the co-hosts jumps in. You've cried in interviews. Jason laughs. Many times. Joy smiles slightly. No one is questioning your emotional range. The audience laughs. But, Joy continues, when a public figure says men are being unfairly targeted, it can sound like you're minimizing real issues women face. Jason's expression shifts, not defensive but firm. I'm not minimizing anything. I have daughters. I care deeply about those issues. Then why frame it as men being under attack? Joy presses. Jason pauses, choosing his words carefully. Because I get messages. From fathers. From teenage boys. Saying they feel ashamed of just existing. Joy responds quickly. Feeling uncomfortable isn't the same as being oppressed. A few audible reactions from the audience. Jason leans forward slightly. I didn't say oppressed. But the implication, Joy begins. No, Jason interrupts gently but clearly. The implication is that we need balance. The room gets quieter. Joy doesn't back down. Balance has historically favored men. Jason nods. Historically, yes. That doesn't mean individual boys today should carry guilt for centuries. The audience splits, some applause, some murmurs. The moderator steps in lightly. This is clearly a topic people feel strongly about. Joy keeps her eyes on Jason. Accountability isn't guilt. And generalization isn't accountability, Jason replies. That lands. A few claps break out. Joy crosses her arms loosely. Do you think conversations about privilege are generalizations? Jason shakes his head. No, I think they're important. I just think we have to be careful not to swing so far that we alienate people we want to educate. One of the co-hosts nods thoughtfully. That's an interesting point. Joy turns toward her colleague. But discomfort is part of growth. Jason agrees. Absolutely. I've been uncomfortable many times learning about my own blind spots. Joy softens slightly. Then maybe that's all this is. Discomfort. Jason looks directly at her. It doesn't feel like discomfort when a 14-year-old thinks he's inherently bad. There's a noticeable hush. Joy responds, more measured now. And it doesn't feel like discomfort when a 14-year-old girl feels unsafe. The audience applauds strongly. Jason nods immediately. You're right. That acknowledgement shifts the tone again. But, he continues, we can protect girls without telling boys they're the enemy. Joy sighs lightly. No one is telling them they're the enemy. Jason shakes his head. Online culture does. Joy responds quickly. Online culture says a lot of extreme things. Exactly, Jason says. And young people absorb it. There's a brief pause. The moderator senses the intensity, but allows it to breathe. One of the other hosts asks gently, Jason, do you think your words may have been interpreted in ways you didn't intend? He nods. Probably. That happens. But my intent was to encourage healthy masculinity, not defend bad behavior. Joy raises an eyebrow. Then why not just say that clearly? I thought I did, Jason says with a small smile. Audience chuckles lightly. Joy doesn't smile this time. Words matter. Jason's tone sharpens just a bit. They do, which is why I don't like mine being reframed. There's an audible reaction from the crowd, a mix of surprise and intrigue. Joy leans in. Reframed. Yes, Jason says. Saying I'm pushing back against harmful narratives isn't the same as saying I oppose equality. Joy's voice remains steady. No one here said you oppose equality. But the online headlines implied it, Jason replies. Joy gestures toward the audience. We're not online headlines. We're having a conversation. And I appreciate that, Jason says, nodding. The moderator jumps in again, sensing the temperature rising. I think it's worth acknowledging that nuance often gets lost in clips. Joy turns slightly toward the moderator. True, but public figures have to anticipate how things land. Jason responds immediately. So do media platforms. The audience reacts, louder this time. Joy gives a small laugh. Are you blaming the media now? Jason smiles faintly. I'm saying we're all part of the ecosystem. Joy looks directly at him. You're very good at this. At what? Jason asks. Redirecting, she replies. The audience reacts with a mix of laughter and gasps. Jason chuckles, but his eyes stay steady. I'm not redirecting. I'm broadening. One of the co-hosts interjects lightly, trying to ease the tension. This is why live TV is interesting. Nervous laughter. Joy taps her cards lightly on the table. Let me ask you directly. Do you believe men are currently at a cultural disadvantage? Jason pauses longer this time. The silence stretches just enough to feel real. I believe, he says slowly, that cultural change creates confusion. And when people are confused, they need guidance, not ridicule. Joy nods slightly. And who should provide that guidance? Parents, schools, community leaders. People like us, Jason says. Joy tilts her head. Including actors? Yes, Jason says firmly. If I have a platform, I should use it responsibly. Joy looks at him carefully. Responsibly includes accepting criticism. I do, Jason replies. That's why I'm here. There's a small but sincere round of applause. The moderator smiles. And we appreciate that. Joy relaxes back slightly in her chair. I'll say this, I respect that you didn't dodge the question. Jason nods. I wouldn't. But, Joy adds quickly, I still think your framing could have been clearer. Jason smiles. Fair. The audience exhales collectively, the tension easing just a notch. But the atmosphere hasn't fully settled. There's still a sense that something deeper is brewing, that this isn't just about masculinity or media framing. The moderator glances at her notes again. There's another layer to this conversation that we haven't touched yet, and it involves a comment you made backstage before the show. The audience reacts instantly, louder this time. Jason looks surprised. Backstage. Joy's lips curl into a small, knowing smile. Oh yes, we're going there. The crowd buzzes with anticipation as the camera holds on Jason's face, calm, but clearly bracing for whatever is about to come next. The audience is already buzzing before anyone even speaks. Jason shifts slightly in his seat, half smiling but clearly curious. Joy looks composed, but there's a spark in her eyes that says she's not letting this go. The moderator clears her throat lightly. So, before we came back from commercial, there was a comment made backstage. And we thought, since we value transparency here, we'd bring it to the table. The audience reacts with a mix of laughter and anticipation. Jason chuckles. Now I'm really nervous. I don't even remember what I said. Joy jumps in. Oh, I do. The crowd laughs louder. Jason turns to her. That's never a good sign. Joy adjusts her glasses. You said, and again I'm paraphrasing, it's easier to challenge an actor than to challenge a politician. There's an audible, oh, from the audience. Jason blinks once. Then he exhales softly. Okay, I did say something like that. The moderator nods. Do you want to elaborate? Jason leans forward slightly. It wasn't a dig. It was an observation. Actors get questioned about everything, which is fine. But sometimes it feels safer to push back on entertainers than on people actually making policy. Joy responds almost instantly. We challenge politicians all the time. You do, Jason says, nodding. I'm not denying that. I just meant culturally, in general. Online especially. Joy tilts her head. So you think it's safe to challenge you? Jason smiles faintly. Safer than challenging someone with legislative power? Probably. The audience murmurs. Joy's tone sharpens just a bit. You have power too. Jason doesn't hesitate. Influence isn't the same as power. Joy counters. Influence can shape elections. And media narratives can shape influence, Jason replies calmly. A ripple goes through the audience, some clapping, some surprised reactions. The moderator steps in gently. Let's unpack this. Jason, are you saying media outlets avoid holding politicians accountable? Jason shakes his head slightly. No, I'm saying public outrage cycles often target celebrities because it's easier. It feels productive. Joy leans forward. Are you suggesting that conversations like this are misplaced? No, Jason says firmly. I'm here, I'm talking. That's not the issue. Then what is the issue? Joy presses. Jason pauses, choosing his words carefully. The issue is scale. When I say something imperfectly, it trends for days. When legislation passes that affects millions, sometimes it barely gets attention. The audience reacts with a low murmur. Joy crosses her arms loosely. That's not entirely accurate. It happens, Jason says. Joy shakes her head. We cover legislation constantly. I'm not talking about this table specifically, Jason clarifies. I'm talking about culture. Joy's voice rises slightly. Culture includes media. And media includes entertainment, Jason replies. There's a brief silence. The tension is thicker now than in the previous segments. One of the co-hosts tries to lighten it. This feels like a graduate seminar. Audience laughs nervously. Joy doesn't break eye contact with Jason. You're a public figure. People look up to you. When you speak about masculinity or accountability, it matters. I know it matters, Jason says. That's why I'm careful. Joy responds quickly. Careful would have been anticipating the impact of your words. Jason's jaw tightens slightly. You keep implying I was reckless. I'm implying you were human, Joy says. That's fair, Jason replies. But being human doesn't mean being irresponsible. The moderator glances toward the audience, sensing how engaged they are. Let's bring this back to the backstage comment. Jason, were you frustrated? Jason thinks for a moment. Not frustrated, just aware. I walked in knowing certain topics would come up. And I accept that. But I also notice patterns. Joy raises an eyebrow. Patterns? Yeah, Jason says. Actors get asked to solve social issues in 30-second answers. Joy smiles slightly. You've been giving longer answers than that. The audience laughs. Jason smiles back. True, Joy continues. But you can't have it both ways. You can't say use your platform, and then say why are you asking me about this? Jason nods slowly. I'm not saying don't ask. I'm saying broaden the lens. Joy responds immediately. We are broadening the lens. That's what this is. The audience claps. Jason takes a breath. Okay, then let's broaden it. Why does it feel like when celebrities speak about certain issues, they're told to stay in their lane? But when they stay silent, they're criticized too. Joy doesn't hesitate. Because silence can be complicity. And speaking can be misinterpreted, Jason replies. That's the risk of having influence, Joy says. Jason's tone becomes more direct now. And what's the risk of framing influence as guilt? The room goes quiet again. Joy leans back slightly. No one is framing influence as guilt. Jason responds, when you say people at my level should sacrifice more, that's a moral judgment. Joy nods. Yes, it is. The audience reacts, some applause, some gasps. Jason holds her gaze. Based on what? Based on access, Joy replies. Access to resources, to platforms, to decision makers. Jason nods slowly. I use that access. Joy responds quickly. But do you challenge the right people with it? That question lands hard. Jason doesn't answer immediately. The silence stretches long enough to feel uncomfortable. Finally, he says, yes. Joy tilts her head. Publicly? Sometimes privately, Jason replies. Joy gestures toward him. And that's my point. We don't see that. Jason's voice firms up. Not everything effective happens on camera. Joy responds, then you can't expect public credit for private actions. The audience reacts loudly to that, a mix of applause and murmurs. Jason nods once. I'm not asking for credit. Then what are you asking for? Joy says. Fairness, Jason replies. The word hangs there again, echoing from part one. Joy exhales softly. Fairness goes both ways. Jason nods. I agree. There's a pause, not hostile, but heavy. One of the co-hosts speaks gently. It sounds like you both actually agree on more than you disagree. Joy gives a small smile. That's often the case. Jason chuckles lightly. It just doesn't make for viral clips. The audience laughs loudly. Joy smiles too. Oh, I think this might make one. More laughter. The moderator glances at the clock again, but doesn't cut it off this time. The energy is too real. Jason, she says, do you regret the backstage comment? Jason shakes his head slowly. No, but I regret if it sounded dismissive. That wasn't my intent. Joy nods once. I can respect that. Jason looks at her directly. And I respect that you ask hard questions. Joy responds, that's my job. And mine is to answer honestly, Jason says. There's a moment, subtle but genuine, where the tension softens. Not completely gone, but less sharp. Then Joy adds, almost casually, just don't be surprised when we push. Jason smiles. I wouldn't expect anything less. The audience applauds warmly this time. Not explosive, but appreciative. But just as it feels like things are settling, the moderator glances at her earpiece and nods slightly. Okay, she says carefully. We've just been told something interesting is happening online right now as we speak. The audience perks up instantly. Joy looks intrigued. Oh, the moderator continues. Clips from this interview are already circulating, and reactions are pouring in. Jason lets out a slow breath. That was fast. Joy smirks. Welcome to the ecosystem. The audience laughs again, but there's a new layer now. The realization that this conversation isn't staying in this studio. And whatever is being said online is about to enter the room. The moderator looks down at the tablet that's just been handed to her. The audience is buzzing again, louder this time, because now it's not just a debate at the table. It's happening in real time outside the studio. Okay, she says carefully, scanning the screen. Clips from this conversation are already trending. Joy gives a quick sideways glance at Jason. That didn't take long. Jason exhales with a half smile. It never does. The moderator continues. Some viewers are praising Jason for pushing back. Others are saying Joy asked the necessary questions. And, not surprisingly, some people think this is exactly what daytime television should be. The audience applauds. Joy nods. Well, that's good. Jason shrugs lightly. At least they're talking. The moderator reads a few paraphrased reactions. One post says, "Finally, a celebrity who doesn't just nod along." Another says, "Joy Behar holding him accountable. That's why she's been on TV this long." The audience reacts strongly to that one, clapping and laughing. Joy smirks. "I've survived a few decades." Jason nods respectfully. "I can see why." That acknowledgement gets a small but noticeable round of applause. But the moderator keeps going. There are also comments saying this is exactly the kind of division that exhausts people. Joy sighs lightly. Disagreement isn't division. Jason adds, "It depends how it's handled." Joy looks at him. "Do you think we handled it poorly?" Jason shakes his head immediately. "No, I think it was honest." There's a brief pause. Joy tilts her head. "Even when it got uncomfortable?" Jason smiles slightly. "Especially then." The audience reacts warmly to that. One of the co-hosts jumps in. "That's the thing. Viewers don't want everything polished. They want real." Joy nods. "Real includes tension." Jason laughs lightly. Clearly, the moderator shifts the conversation toward reflection. "Jason, walking into today, did you expect it to go this way?" He thinks for a moment. "I expected tough questions. I didn't expect the backstage comment to become a headline." The audience laughs. Joy shrugs. "You know how this works." "I do," Jason admits. "But I also think sometimes we forget there are actual people behind the clips." Joy softens slightly at that. "That's fair." Jason continues, more reflective now. "When things trend, they get flattened. Nuance disappears. It becomes Team Jason versus Team Joy." The audience murmurs in agreement. Joy nods slowly. "That's not what this was." "No," Jason says. "It wasn't." The moderator looks at Joy. "Do you regret bringing up the backstage comment?" Joy doesn't hesitate. "No. Transparency matters. If something is said and it relates to the conversation, we address it." Jason nods. "I can respect that. But," Joy adds, "I also don't want people thinking this was personal." Jason responds quickly. "It wasn't." The audience applauds lightly, relieved to hear that clearly stated. One of the co-hosts leans in. "I think what people just witnessed was two adults disagreeing without it becoming disrespectful." Joy smiles slightly. "That's rare these days." Jason nods. "It shouldn't be." The moderator glances again at the tablet. More reactions are coming in. A lot of viewers are saying they appreciate that neither of you stormed off. The audience laughs. Joy chuckles. "I've had worse days." Jason grins. "Same." The moderator asks one final pointed question. "Jason, if you could rephrase one thing you said earlier today, would you?" He pauses for several seconds. The silence feels genuine, not staged. "I would probably be clearer that supporting men doesn't mean ignoring women," he says finally. "That both conversations can exist at the same time." Joy nods thoughtfully. "That clarification helps." "And if I could add something," Joy says, turning slightly toward him, "it would be that pushing someone doesn't mean dismissing them." Jason meets her eyes. "I didn't feel dismissed." That moment lands softly, but it lands. The audience applauds, not explosively, but steadily. The moderator smiles. "That feels like growth." Joy laughs. "Don't get too sentimental." Jason laughs too. "Yeah, let's not trend for that." The atmosphere in the studio is different now. The tension hasn't vanished, but it's evolved. It feels processed. The moderator shifts toward wrapping up. After the show, these clips will continue to circulate. Debates will continue online. That's the world we live in. Jason nods. "I just hope people watch the full conversation before deciding what happened." Joy adds, "That would be nice." The audience laughs knowingly. The moderator addresses the camera more directly now. Moments like this are why live television matters. Not because everyone agrees, but because real conversations happen. Jason sits back slightly, visibly more relaxed than he was 20 minutes earlier. Joy glances at him one more time. "You handled yourself well." Jason smiles. "So did you." The audience gives a final round of applause as the segment begins to close. But as the credits start to roll and the music swells lightly, the moderator adds one last note. "We've also been told that both Jason Momoa and Joy Behar are currently trending." The audience cheers loudly at that. Jason shakes his head playfully. "My kids are going to text me." Joy laughs. "Mine will too." The camera begins to pull back as the hosts thank Jason for coming. There are handshakes, a brief hug, a few more quiet words exchanged off mic. Later that afternoon, clips flood social media. Some headlines frame it as a clash. Others call it a heated exchange. Supporters on both sides argue in comment sections. Think pieces begin appearing within hours, dissecting tone, body language, phrasing. But insiders from the studio say that once the cameras stopped, the conversation didn't end in hostility. Jason reportedly thanked the hosts again. Joy reportedly told him she appreciated that he didn't shut down. And in an era where arguments often spiral into insults, that detail stands out. By evening, longer versions of the segment begin circulating, giving more context than the initial viral snippets. Some viewers who first reacted strongly admit that the full discussion feels more balanced than the clipped moments suggested. The next day, entertainment outlets recap the exchange. Some frame Joy as sharp and unrelenting. Others frame Jason as calm and composed under pressure. But nearly all agree on one thing: it was compelling television. Not because someone won, but because neither backed away. And that's what keeps people watching. Now we want to hear from you. Was Jason justified in pushing back? Did Joy ask the right questions? Or did the conversation miss something important? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to the Star Talks for more real talk show stories.